Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Muti Beda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sabhavedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. So we are looking into the features of Nirguna Brahman. And it is said by Swami Paramarthananda said before, and I think it's going to appear him saying again that this passage in this central part of the Gita, the chapter 9, this initial verse, he says that is the essence of the Upanishads. And why? Because Krishnaji is describing the nature of Nirguna Ishvara, Nirguna Brahman. So he goes on for several verses describing Nirguna Atma. We have seen several features, and and then the verse number 7, it was said that at the end of each cycle, all beings resolve into myself as Prakriti. Again, at the beginning of the next cycle, I create or project them by the power of this Maya. Now, so it's an explanation of the origination of Jagata. It's said that fundamentally, it comes from Brahman, but Brahman does so without doing anything because it's just the superimposition, so to speak, comes from Mitya. And superimposition comes from Mitya upon Brahman, which is the only reality or consciousness, in other words. So, but it's said that the fundamental cause is the adhisthanam, the only reality. So therefore, it's the Jagata Karanatva. It's the cause of the nature of this apparent world, and it's said to be Brahman. So how does the Lord create? We have seen that it's somehow this creation is not a linear manifestation or origination, but it's a cyclical projection. Now, and it appears and disappears, but since nothing can really disappear forever, nothing can be destroyed in reality. And then what happens is that it is converted into energy. It does not go anywhere. Well, what is the universe? Okay, I'm here, and the universe seems to have gone. He said, no, it did not go. It was converted into the Prakriti of Maya, in which everything is contained to just appear again according to our scriptures. So it makes total sense, this cyclical apparent manifestation. We have several examples. The fetus, we see the mother, beginning from something almost invisible, but everything is encoded in the seed of the child that later on becomes an adult and then an old person and dies. But everything was encoded. Therefore, that's what we call DNA and so on. The entire universe is encoded in Prakriti the same way. So as we know, the universe comes into manifestation, and again it goes back into unmanifestation. And we don't have any problem to understand that and accept that, because we have so many examples within our human experience, and the most common is the dream world that appears and disappears. It's resolved back into the mind, or the causal mind, or the vasanas, and then it somehow it appears again. And they never repeat themselves, the dream. Very rarely they come more or less on the same theme. But so the dream is are the impressions of my awakening state, which is loaded with impressions from past births as well. And then everything put together somehow projects this dream state. For some reason, it is a little bit how you say? Distorted, no?
Distorted, yeah.
Distorted. It's a little bit distorted. And now it came a speculation from myself, maybe because it's not just simple impressions of this life experience, but previous one. And then somehow, when you put it all together in the blender and project something, a lot of these things do not make sense. But it remains the fact that it is a certain projection without enough materiality, because it's lacking tamoguna. Those projections, they have a lot of sattva guna because it's very subtle. Not having tamoguna, it does not densify to structure it in a way that we can experience the sense of time and space that we have in the awakened state. So as we seen last class, so we have to really understand the limitation of words when we say that the impression from past experience, but we never experience flying, for example. But you can have a dream that you are flying. Why? Because you start contemplating. I would like to fly. I would like to fly. I would like to fly, And then when you see you are flying. When I had this dream, it was a time that I was, tripping on those lines, Okay. Likewise, the dream world is Maya, unmanifest, which projects itself the same way we project our dream reality. Maya projects this pratibhasika reality, from where? From its vasanas. But Maya does not have their own vasana, it's the collective vasanas of all human jivas. Because it's all for us. And the scriptures points again and again here and there that this is all for us. Creation is there for the creatures. It's a sort of a school in which we can interact to learn until we learn the true nature of this apparent reality. Therefore, in my mere presence, the presence of Brahman, the creation rises and resolves back. Make sure that you awake, Arjuna. Don't fall asleep on me. Okay. Just as the manifest dream is dependent on the awaker, the unmanifest dream vasanas, so the imprint vasanas or samskaras are also dependent on the awaker. So we have seen it in our Monday class that the material from where this dream projects itself is the vasana body or the causal body. This discussion, where are the vasanas located? It's kind of subconscious because if it was really fully conscious, it would not be referred to as predisposition or tendencies, you know? So it's Dayananda used to say, so forget about these vasanas in the causal body because vasanas, they appear to be conscious only when they are in your conscious mind as a tendency. Yeah, the tendency can be inferred as coming from somewhere, but we can deal with those vasanas as they become manifest in our conscious mind. But we need to be aware enough to understand this mechanism, vasanas, and then thoughts, feelings, emotions, actions. The imprint becomes vasanas, which is the substratum of the dream, and consciousness is the substrate of both dreams, the waking dream reality and the dream reality, the pratibhasika and the vyavaharika. Everything resolves into my prakriti, says Krishna as Brahman. Everything depends on me, says Krishna in behalf of Brahman. Brahman cannot say anything, so we need our avatars to speak in their behalf. When does that happen? Oh, don't worry, it may take a lot of time until this universe resolves back into Prakriti, but nothing is going to be lost in any case. The journey of the soul is going to continue unless the soul dissolves itself into Brahman, the adhisthana of this apparent reality that projects itself and resolves itself into the prakriti of Maya, the vasana, the collective vasana of the cosmos. So here it says 2000 Katu Yugas. I don't even go there. I don't care how many millions and billions. It's totally irrelevant. Some people get impressed by these irrelevant things. Nothing is destroyed, therefore creation never ends permanently. There is no permanent end for the creation. It's a temporary rest. And it's when we think in those terms, I say, oh, let's welcome this so-called pralaya because Shwara, so I'm a little bit worn out. I mean, so many births and just to experience raga devashanas and pleasure and pain, pleasure and pain. So it's not enough to sleep during the day. I need a longer period of sleep during the pralaya. That's everything. Let everything sleep for some time together with our powerful prakriti, which is another name of Maya. The verse number 8, restoring to my prakriti, I create again and again this entire multitude of beings which are helpless, the multitude of beings which is helpless, being under the control of my prakriti, my Maya. So it's very interesting because the beings, and the beings always refer to all sentient beings, but I mean it's relevant to the human beings. Human beings are helpless in the micro experience, and it's helpless in the macro level even more, when Maya says, okay, I'm tired, I'm gonna have a long nap here in your scale of time. So nobody can make a movement, to protest, to take to Congress to convince Maya that it's not fair. You understand? But Maya decides everybody's helpless, and human beings being helpless in in every possible way, should never forget that this helplessness does not include not taking responsibility for that little bit which is in our hands. Okay? So our degree of responsibility is to use this free will, this intelligence, this human mind and intellect able to connect the dots and between actions and its results and start understanding this machinery. Well, the Jivatama is a machinery, okay? Jivatama is 3 bodies or 5 koshas, and it is moved by vasanas. The vasanas come from so far back, it's karma, but yet every Jivatama has the potential to understand this machinery, this mechanism, and begin make an effort to break away from that mechanicity, compulsiveness of vasanas, thoughts, feelings, emotions, actions. Vasanas, usually we go in cycle, repeating the entire lifetime without understanding the mechanism and the way we can break away from it. By how? By understand the scriptures, understand the merits that brought us to the scripture, and understand that the best possible exercise of choice that we have as living creatures is to conform to Dharma, to conform to the laws and principles of the Lord, the Creator. But this is still is a play of vasana. Yes, everything is a play of vasana. You were born here already with spiritual vasana, Adamic vasana. Yes, it is. Of course, everything is a play of vasana. But understanding the mechanism, okay, I can make a choice. I want vasanas in total harmony with the laws of the universe, the laws of the Creator. And why? Because if I live in harmony with my environment, all other beings, and the laws sustaining this apparent order, so I'm going to have a calm and proper, pacified, contemplative mind, because I'm going to avoid conflict. If you live in an environment and you are again and again breaking the laws and rules, you get in conflict and the mind gets disturbed. So we have this free will, which allows us the real, most relevant exercise of choice, which I choose to live in conformity with the scriptures, the revealed teachings coming directly from Ishvara. I understand this relationship. I understand the degree of my responsibility, and I understand the helplessness of having no control in respect to my future prerogatives, because it's a huge equation that only the mind of God understands. But we develop the what? We develop the trust, the shraddha, the confidence that everything is following a very intelligent design, which is helping me to understand what needs to be changed in terms of attitudes, thoughts, words, and actions. So Swamiji says that Jagata, again, it's again another explanation that Jagata is coming from the Prakriti of Maya, which is something not apart from Brahman. Fundamentally, everything is Brahman. This topic is the same here. He says that it's a cyclic process that brings about this world and the resolution of the world. What is important here? Vedanta creation is a cyclic process. It's not a linear process. We understand that. We have seen that in Mandukya Karika. The logical impossibility of having a creation in a linear time. We have seen all the logics presented by Gaudapada to expose the flaws, yeah, of that theory. Therefore, Gaudapada left us with nothing but with the understanding that it appears to be cyclical, but in truth, it's as good as non-existent. Because even the cyclical theory is going to be challenged if we go deeper, analyzing its logic. Even the karma theory of creation in a cyclic manner is debunked by Gaudapada, if you guys remember. So the only way to understand the creation and the creator is to understand that's non-existent. The only thing existing is existence, consciousness itself, that which somehow reflects this apparent order the same way a mirror reflects our environment. Linear time has a beginning and end. A cycle does not have a beginning of an end. This is a very nice symbol. Huh? You remember this symbol? Reality is round, full and complete and cyclical. And Jiva Atma has three bodies, three bodies living in a cyclical manner, and whose nature is fullness and completion. It's a very nice symbol. So the creation has no beginning. That's why I love this word, beginningless. Jiva, beginningless. Jagata, beginningless. Ishwara, and of course, Brahman, being the adhisthana of all of that, is even beyond beginninglessness. So we have to be careful with our questions. Swami presents here a nice analogy. Somebody says, if somebody says, presents a question, if an unstoppable bullet hits an impenetrable wall, what will happen? So, philosophers may fall for that. But if you bring about a logical question, you cannot have a logical answer, but you can find volumes of philosophy. Philosophers do that. So a bullet which is unstoppable cannot penetrate the wall. Therefore, the question is wrong. If a wall is impenetrable, the bullet cannot be unstoppable. It's going to be stoppable because the wall is impenetrable. It's an illogical question. For an illogical question, there cannot be a logical answer. Therefore, never ask any question regarding the beginning of the cosmos, when it happened, why it happened. If I have to create, I have to make use of what? Prakritim svam avastabhaya, with the help of Prakriti, which is the potential universe. Did you translate this Sanskrit phrase by any chance? Any one of you? Prakrim svam.
It's in the verse somewhere, resorting to my Prakriti.
Yeah. If I had to create something, I have to make use of this Prakriti. Meaning to say, I would say that we have to, I don't know, let's see if I understand it here. With the help of Prakriti, which is the potential universe, just as without the samskara of vasanas, I cannot project my dream world. If I have to project my dream world, I need my vasanas. Likewise, Maya needs its Prakriti to project this Vyavaharika. For dream to come, I require some vasanas. Similarly, Brahman cannot create unless the creation is there in the potential form as Prakriti or Maya. Nothing can ever be created and nothing can ever be destroyed. Therefore, taking resort to Prakriti or Maya, I create what? This entire multitude of the cosmos with multitudes of things and beings. Again and again, Maya does that. What type of things and beings are there? Oh, these jivas, these avasams, helpless beings. So I cannot stop it. Even that is okay. He's saying that the hopeless beings as well. What type of things and beings they are talking about? Helpless beings. So I cannot stop it. Let's see. I don't want to speculate too much. So even that is why commit suicide is not a solution. Commit suicide is not going to put an end. In fact, in the next birth, there will be still worse problems because commit suicide is going to represent more papa and karma. So you are just not addressing the suffering, the condition of your mind. And then you add to that something that is a huge violation of Dharma, which is take away your very life. Therefore, one more papa is create next Janima. There will be more suffering. So nobody can stop this process. The jiva cannot stop. Helpless beings because they cannot stop it. So it is going to go on, but the speculation, the insight that I was coming to is like these jivas are hopeless beings and helpless beings. They have no power because it depends on Maya. But just imagine the power of Jivatma if they say, enough, I don't want to play anymore. You know, if Jivatmas come together and say, you know what, are you guys enjoying it? Let's put an end to this game. Okay, let's resolve all our ragas and vesha, desires and aversions into a pure, luminous, clear mind. And let's see if Maya is going to bring back any world for us. No, because Maya again and again brings back this because jivas are hopeless. They do not learn. Therefore, here, you did not learn more. So we are helpless because we cannot stop this cyclical projection. And we are hopeless because we could say that Ishwara, Saguna Ishwara is again and again waiting and looking to see if somebody is understanding the game, understanding that it's a strange play, not to say more. Even that is why commit suicide. Nobody can stop this process. One can only get out of this process by self-knowledge and moksha. I had this understanding right from the beginning when I got to know James and Vedanta, that if everybody would understand the game of life and would pull back all positives and negatives, desires and fears, and then Maya would not have the raw material, our vasanas, to hold and sustain the cosmos with our environments, because we need, he does, remember, he does that with our vasanas. Vasanas are desires for continuation, more, better, and so on. I want this, I want that, I want completion, I want love. So not having that load of vasanas for more, Maya would be impotent to project this universe again. It's like a giant wheel. It is will or well? Will.
Wheel, yes.
Yeah, wheel of samsara, yeah. It is a giant wheel, switch it on, and there is no switch off. You cannot stop this giant wheel, but you can jump out of it. I love this analogy. You just imagine this huge giant, when you are just moving, you say, oh my God, this is never going to stop. And then comes the scripture and the guru say, yes, you need to jump. But it's so big, I'm going to crash when I get down there. No, don't be afraid, When you jump with your subtle body, which is shining with Atma Yana, and you're not going to hurt. So just jump out of it. It's called freedom for identification with the physical body. There's no switch, no off, no on. It's all in the hand of Ishvara. So you can only jump. And how so? By attending the classes and getting self-knowledge. Nice, huh? So again, Swami beginning a new class, doing his recap. He's talked about Krishna, he's talked about Shvara Svarupam. Several descriptions. We have seen 5 or 6 features of Nirguna Brahman. We'll talk about the higher features, the higher natures of Brahman. He's beyond the sense organs, beyond the elements that allows the development of the 5 sense organs. It's free from properties. It is attributeless. Therefore, you can never experience the higher nature of the Lord, but only the lower nature. The second is Sarvagatvam, is free of name, colors, and form. As we know, Saguna Lord, it has name, form, and attributes. No. Why? Because it is all pervasive. It has no boundaries. No? It pervades everything. We have seen that in the 4th verse. Krishna point out Lord in his higher nature as the adhistanam, or the substratum, or the support, the supportless support of the universe, the reflector of this universe, which is not reflected by any other principle. No? This is a very important feature. The higher nature of God is said to be consciousness. Consciousness, the substratum in which this cosmos is seen and experienced. The definition of Brahman as the light of consciousness, the true light illumining and revealing this Mithya order of reality is very important. It is the consciousness, the Chit aspect of Brahman. It is the background, the support, the substratum. When we look at the substratum as consciousness, we say, yes, it's almost as if it's projecting consciousness, because everything requires consciousness to be experienced and known. And then we see the limitation of the metaphor of having projection of this cosmos on the screen of consciousness in analogy to the screen at the cinema move hall, you know. Here, consciousness is the screen in this analogy. The higher nature of God is this consciousness by which and in which things appear and are experienced and known. Therefore, when we say God is the higher nature, God is the substrata of the world, what I indirectly means is consciousness is the substratum of matter. Very nice. What I indirectly mean to say is consciousness is the substratum of matter. People believe that the substratum of matter is energy. Vedanta goes one step further to the very end of what knowledge can be and says, no, matter and energy, they have a substratum, and the substratum is consciousness. In reality, matter and energy are the same thing, different frequencies. Consciousness is the real nature, the true nature is the stuff, the real substantial nature of matter and energy is consciousness, is the essence of matter, which means there cannot be matter without consciousness. This is very profound. How this physical material universe can stand without consciousness? First, because without consciousness, we cannot attribute even a meteor reality to this world. No, it has to be validated by consciousness, known by consciousness, illumined by consciousness. You know, consciousness is free. The world disappears because Maya takes a nap. Consciousness is that which illumines in any condition. If it is nothing to be illumined, it is self-luminous. So without this consciousness, we are not going to experience matter and energy. And furthermore, consciousness is the base from where the three gunas now emerge. The prakriti of Maya and then the three gunas being sattva guna, the guna of knowledge. And it is this knowledge that can produce infinite configurations of material objects. All comes from the chit knowledge of Brahman, which is consciousness. The physical aspect of the universe comes from the sat nature of Brahman. Normally, we think there cannot be consciousness without matter. Science believes that consciousness is a byproduct or property of the brain, the physical brain. But Krishna's and all our scripture says that it's the other way around. How are you going to tell that to people? People do not trust these teachings, you know. I have had a satsang with somebody in Portuguese language day before yesterday. And then during our conversation, it became clear to me that the difficulty people have in claiming and realizing the truth, realizing their true nature is because they don't really trust these statements. They don't trust the scriptures. They listen. There is a certain feeling, it resonates somehow and people get high listening to these teachings. But the difficulty is there is no trust. When the scripture says that you are limitless, full, infinite, complete consciousness, and you are beyond time and space, everything is just an appearance within you. And you need to know that doubtlessly so that you can enjoy your true nature. When people hear that, they say, wow, 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 it sounds good, but is that really possible? It's something so subtle. These features of consciousness, features of reality, this identity between the Atma of the human Jiva with the Atma of Ishvara and the Atma of Brahman, and the fact that this knowledge frees the Jiva from the suffering so common in the human experience is something that people have a hard time to trust. Lack of Shraddha in these statements, the final statements, is somehow which prevents the full realization. And of course, this lack of Shraddha comes together as well with lack of the vision, the understanding, the clarity, of these teachings. Need to be so totally convinced. The intellect has to be fully convinced before this claiming can effectively produce sense of liberation and freedom. Normally, people think that there cannot be consciousness without matter. But here, Krishnas and all the scriptures say that consciousness can exist independent of matter. In fact, during the night when we are having deep sleep, we have dreams. We are awake, we are seeing matter and energy, and then we go into dream, we are seeing a world produced by energies, and then we go into deep sleep, and then there is no matter, there is no vyavaharika, and there is no pratibhasika. Yet there is something there which is independent from those two states. The waking state, the dream state, and then you are in deep sleep. There is something there which is aware of the two first states and now is aware of the absence of matter and energies. Consciousness is always that nothing escapes. Consciousness is another expression that I love. Nothing can escape consciousness. Nothing that we say, oh, this and that is reality, this and that exists. All of that resolves themselves into consciousness. When we look for consciousness, we have to understand this statement. Nothing escapes consciousness. Everything that we are seeing as an experience of this and that, all of that is happening within consciousness. Nothing exists outside of consciousness. You understand? And then we have to just turn our somehow attitude and begin looking directly into this consciousness in which things appear and disappear. This consciousness is Satchian, the only reality. Matter and energy is Mithya, therefore the Lord is Mithya, Jagata Adhisthana. The true Lord is the substratum of this Jagata. The nature, the true Svarupa of this Lord is that which is the substratum of this entire Jagata, which is a Mithya Jagata. This is the third feature that he presents now, elaborating a little bit more deeply. The fourth feature we saw as well in our previous is that this true self, this true consciousness, this true Lord is asanga. It has a nature which is free of association. It means to say that in the absence of duality, there is nothing to associate, to relate to. So it is asanga. It's impossible for this consciousness to relate to anything of this Mithya order of reality. Consciousness needs to be understood as a witnessing, non-experience principle that witnessing takes place through the intellect. The intellect is the instrument experiencing and knowing phenomena, but consciousness is free from the intellect and from whatsoever the intellect experiences and knows. Consciousness remains always a sangha without touching this world. The world as well does not touch this consciousness. It appears as a reflection in consciousness without touching or affecting consciousness. Consciousness is a sangha. Nothing can relate to it. Nothing can touch it. Nothing associates with it. In the meaning to say that consciousness does not associate with anything, because everything that is defined by attributes of the gunas of Maya belongs to a mithya, apparent order or reality, and mithya and satya never makes up. When we say that satya is the substratum of mithya, and then we say, okay, so now I understand. It's just like layers and layers of the onion, and now we have so deep that we have consciousness as the base, as a support, as the distance. Of course, there is a relation there. No, mithya and satya never touch one another. It appears to touch. It appears to be superimposed. From the standpoint of mithya, this superimposition, this order cannot exist without the support or the addistanum or the substratum. But from the standpoint of consciousness, this superimposition is non-existent, because there is only consciousness, there is only Brahman. And Brahman is a sangatva, free from any contact with this order of reality. It's a very, very profound feature of Brahman, and understanding our nature in such a manner gives us a sense of security and freedom, because we know that deep, deep inside, nothing can affect us, nothing can impact us, because I am a sangha, I am consciousness, and I am a sangha. And this sentiment, this feeling, this experiential sense of freedom, which is very much related to this feature of sangatva, is something that grows as self-knowledge becomes more and more internalized and established. Of course, our human nature is always going to have a moment or two that we we feel like, oh, now I am being packed. It's the mind superimpose itself on consciousness, and then the same mind, the same intellect will remember, oh, I'm consciousness and nothing can touch me. The Lord is insulate. Insulation, it comes from insulation. Unsoiled.
I think that it's unsullied, like not impure. Sullying is messing up and adding impurities.
Okay. Yeah, nothing of this world can taint the the Brahman consciousness. In Tamil, we have a beautiful expression. Some people have the name also. What is Mazilamani? Impurity. Lord is like a crystal, which is never touched by any impurity. Lord is like the crystal, and the word appears reflecting this crystal clear Nirguna Atma, as we see in the phenomena of, I forgot the name, crystal and the red rose. The red rose, it transfers itself, appear and transfer to Upadi. The crystal is clear and was never affected or or modified by the readiness of the rose. But the readiness appears due to close association. That's the problem, the association, the proximity between the mind, the intellect, and consciousness is such that very often the readiness of the intellect, which gives it a sense of limitation and finite, is transferred to consciousness. And those are the moments that we say, oh my God, now something is really affecting me, is the intellect being transferred, some of its attributes to consciousness. The truth is the Lord is a Sangha. This is the fourth feature. The fifth feature we saw is that it is the Jagata Shristi Karana, is the cause of the origination, apparent origination of this universe. In its higher nature is the fundamental cause or source out of which the whole universe arises, apparently, the whole creation rests, the whole creation resolves. So it appears, it rests, and resolves back. And that was the last feature that took us into the concept of a cyclical phenomenon. It appears, it's sustained by certain laws, and it resolves back into consciousness, remaining as the seed of the universe in the Prakriti of Maya. This was the fifth feature. The Lord gave some details about the creation. How does the creation come and how does it resolve? We have seen it today in our class. Matter, energy, they are just interchangeable. Is that a way to say? It's convertible. So matter converts itself into energy, and energy converts itself into matter. No fresh matter can be produced. The material universe exists already in the higher nature of Brahman, meaning to say, in the Prakriti of Maya. Many times as Christians present Maya as something so intimate to Brahman that it says that that potential seed of the universe exists in Nirguna Brahman, in potential form. No, but it exists in Maya, exists in the Prakriti of Maya. Maya, I used to say, is the boundary, is the frontier, the border between Satya and Mithya. Yeah? So we have Maya. Just imagine something that is bordering two countries. It's a very fine line. And then you can never say, okay, this border between the United States and Mexico. So the border itself belongs to Satya or Mithya, belongs to USA or to, it's a very fine line. You understand? So Maya is like that. It's so close, but yet it's something other than consciousness, and consciousness is one without a second. But when we resolve the universe in Maya, and then we say, we resolve it into Brahman, because it's right there, ready to pop up again. So therefore it says that this apparent material universe was already there in Brahman, meaning to say in the apparent Maya, in potential, latent potential form. This is called the Maya Shakti, or the lower Prakriti of the Lord. You see here now he presents all of that is already there potentially in what? In a higher nature, as what? As Maya Shakti, which is the lower nature of the Lord. There are a lot of apparent contradictions. The lower nature of the Lord The beginning of the lower nature of the Lord is Maya. Maya is the fine line divides Satya from Mithya, no? Consciousness from matter and energy. The higher nature includes the lower nature. Everything resolves. Just imagine that little Maya, that border. No, the higher nature includes the lower nature of matter and energy. And matter and energy in potential form is called Prakriti or Maya. Therefore, the world exists in the form of Maya in me, Brahman. And this Maya alone evolves into creation or manifestations, a better word. And that's about for some time according to what? Karma. Well, karma belongs to what? To all sentient beings. And the scriptures say that it goes into animal life and vegetal life as well. It danced about for some time. Nataraja is that concept that describes this dance. And again, this prapancha, this matter gets resolved into Maya again, the most fundamental energy. Maya becomes again matter. So Maya is matter unmanifest, and the world is Maya manifest, matter manifest, or Maya manifest as matter. This unmanifest matter becomes manifest matter, which is called origination, manifestation of the universe, and manifest matter again comes back to unmanifest matter, which is called Laya. So we have Shriti and manifestation of matter and energy. And then this manifestation returns back to the unmanifest matter, which is called Laya. Why they say the unmanifest matter, which is called Laya, and pralaya? Are you aware of this subtle distinction? When we say pralaya is when everything is resolved back into Prakriti, into Maya. Yeah? It rests there as the seed of the cosmos. We call pralaya, but here it says it's called the unmanifest matter, which is called Laya. Something for you guys to maybe answer. And then Swami presents us with a question, how about God? How about Brahman, Nirguna God? He is neither unmanifest nor manifest. And how about Saguna Brahman? Saguna Brahman is manifest at times and unmanifest at certain times in the Prakriti of Maya. And Nirguna Brahman, it's neither manifest nor unmanifest. It's beyond matter and energy, beyond space and time. Lord is the consciousness, Nirguna, which supports the entire phenomenal world of matter and energy, and its evolutions and devolutions or involutions. So when we ask when did the whole thing begin, Krishna says, do not ask that question, please. You cannot talk about beginning of creation because, first of all, nothing can be created. And the universe, the cosmos, cannot be created as well because it was already there as very, very, very subtle energy or seed of the universe. Don't talk about that because nothing can be created. It is, at the best, we can say it's a cyclical process. It's unmanifest form or condition, latent potential, becomes manifest, and the manifest condition of this apparent order become unmanifest. The word punaha is a significant word meaning again and again, like not punaha, mean again and again and again and again, endlessly, beginninglessly and endlessly. When you repeat the word again and again, it means what? You cannot go on telling. Krishna says it twice. You cannot repeat it forever. Get the point. Again and again means endlessly. Eternally, endlessly. Therefore, punaha means anadi, beginninglessly and eternally present. Punaha. In fact, this process does not happen in time, but the time itself appears with this process. This is very beautiful. It's something to contemplate. In fact, this process of manifest and unmanifest, manifest and unmanifest. When it manifests, and then Jiva Atmas appear into the play, and then we develop a sense of time and space. But this manifesting and unmanifesting, it's not within time and space. Time and space is within this process, but the process is beyond time and space. Meaning to say, Maya itself is beyond time and space. That's why we are not able to talk about the concept of time beyond or before the Big Bang, scientifically speaking. We cannot talk about time. You cannot talk about space. You cannot talk about even causality, as we have seen in the Mandukya Karika. Therefore, this phenomenon is not in time, but time is within this phenomenon. That which is beyond time. He's referring here to Maya, Ishwara, because Maya Ishwara, let me see here. The process does not happen in time, but time itself happens in no, it's Nirguna Brahman. Nirguna Brahman is beyond time and space. You cannot talk even about causality or karma. Therefore, this phenomenon is not in time. Time is within this Maya phenomenon. Maya, Kalpita, therefore Krishna say, endlessly, punaha, again and again, forever, eternally. So up to this we saw in our last class, and then we move into our verse number 6. When? Today is Thursday. Today is Thursday.
Today is Wednesday.
Today is Wednesday. So we see it on Friday, okay?
Excellent.
We carry on. Okie dokie. Namaste. Thank you. We meet again soon again.
Okay, thank you.